Hey chess people, this is one of my games against Australia's rising star, Sraven Renjith, and he played the Berlin defense with the black pieces. As some of you may know, it's very difficult to get an advantage against the Berlin, and there's various ways for white to play. I chose to play the rook e1 line. The main line is to go d4. And again, there's a few moves for black, but this is how it continued. So check, he blocks with the bishop. Now I need to preserve my two bishops, otherwise black could become better if he gets the bishop pair. I grab some space in the center. And again, there's a couple of different moves here for black, but he chose to play bishop f6. So bishop d3 is actually a sideline, and it actually draws, I think, by force, although it is pretty interesting. And something that you need to be aware of if you're going to play the Berlin with black. It's just a line I came up with earlier. Bishop f5, the computer gives good for black here. So instead of bishop d3, rook e1 is the main move. And black again has a couple of different moves, but he chose to play knight f5. So I can play c3 to defend my pawn, but I chose to go d5. And the reason for this is it gains some space in the center. Rook e8. Now, in my file, I had rook takes e8 and queen d3 as the way for white to play for an advantage. Knight d2 first, and now he should simply swap rooks. So d6 is probably a little bit inaccurate because it allows me to maintain the tension, which is good for me because I have a slight space advantage. So bishop d7, I don't really want to take on f6 yet. So c3 to shut down his bishop's diagonal and to control the d4 square. If you had have played bishop e5, he's threatening to go bishop takes h2 check and queen h4, followed by rook takes knight on e4. I would simply play g3 and then fianchetto my bishop on g2. Notice that if my bishop's on g2, it's actually blocked by the pawn on d5, but the fact that I have a space advantage and black eventually wants to play c6 means that my bishop on g2 will open up one day, if black ever does that. So bishop d7, c6. Now I have a bit of dilemma. I don't really want to take on c6 because it allows his bishop to activate against my knight on e4. So I played bishop c4, kind of hoping that he will take on d5. And the reason for this is that if he does, he's weakening his pawn structure. It actually happened. The alternative was to take on f6, swap rooks, and go queen b3. And the computer thinks that white's better here, but I mean, this is very hard to see for a human. I mean, there's two bishops in the endgame, a weak d6 pawn, plus I have 3 versus 2 on the queen side, so potential for pass pawn over there. So captures, goes bishop c6. I don't want to take on c6, improving black's structure, so I went queen b3, hitting f7. I was hoping that he'd take on d5 now. I go queen takes d5, and then I'm hitting b7 and f5. So he played rook e5. Now it's very dangerous to take on f7 because of king f8, and there's all sorts of problems. There's a pin down here. He's threatening to play d5, which disconnects my bishop and my queen. Also piles up on the pin piece. So bishop takes c6, bishop f4. If queen b7, just rook b8, and he has rook a5, and my queen's actually trapped. If knight takes on f6 check, I think pawn takes, and then rook check doesn't work because after here there's actually a mate on e1, queen e1 checkmate. So bishop f4, rook b5, queen c2, and I was very surprised that this had all happened in a game previously, and the white player was over 2400, and in that game I believe it continued d5, and white eventually went on to win after knight takes f6. But d5 is actually a losing move, so you can try to work out why white is winning. What he could have played instead was rook b8, but then I was going to play a4 takes, knight takes f6. So he has to go queen takes f6 to protect the knight on f5. But then his back rank is weak. He can't recapture because of this checkmate, so I win a rook. But d5 loses. So a4, he has to move his rook. And now bishop c7, gaining a tempo on the rook and the queen. So queen takes. And takes. If he takes on b2, I have rook e3 and he's going to get mated. So now the good old rook lift is sufficient. I double rooks and check. Queen g4, and he resigns because he has to give up the queen on g3. So yeah, his mistake was d5. Positions relatively equal but difficult to play for a human. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe.